Namo tassa bhagavatu arahatu samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavatu arahatu samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavatu arahatu samma sambuddhassa. Alright, everyone. Let us turn to proximity cause, where we will be continuing our revision today. Proximity cause, number 4. Let us read about it first. Before we do start, does anyone have any questions with regards to what we have covered in the last class, if any?
Bhante, page 306.
306. Thank you. Padma?
Yeah.
Yes, Padma.
See, now in the Arammana, there's Pannati concepts.
Yes.
But in the Adipati Arammana, it is not there.
Yes.
It's there. We're wondering why it was, because I thought concepts is the first thing that sort of comes to my mind when I start meditating.
Okay. Yes. So, Aramana Pacha, in Aramana Pacha, what Padma is, let us turn to that page. What Padma is referring to is that in Aramana Pacha, we find prajnati, concepts, right? Being a conditioning state, meaning the concept is an object which is the conditioning state for the 89 chittas and 52 chaitasikas, which are the conditioned states. And in Arammana Adipati, object predominance condition, we do not have concepts, right? We do not have concepts. However, what we do have is the 18 material, the 84 chittas excluding hate. Because why hate and delusion? Because for adipati to take place, it must be a favorable object, an object that the mind soughts after, an object that the mind is willing to stick to or bend towards. That is the reason, right? And excluding body consciousness with pain. There are 45 chetasikas, excluding the dosa chatukka, which is hate, envy, avarice, worry, and doubt. And then, of course, Nibbana as well. Nibbana becomes Arammana Adipati when it comes to Magga, Phala, and Phala Samapatti. Re-entering or re-experiencing the state of enlightenment that one has attained to. During these positions, the mind bends towards, I don't know why this, hold on, this sound. The mind bends towards the object, right? Now, within these objects, we do not have prajnati, right? Within these objects, we do not have prajnati. The answer to which is present within the same reason as to why we do not have the 28 matters, we have the 18 concrete matters. There lies your answer. Padma, does that make sense?
Yeah, maybe you could explain. I was thinking about it, but because so it means that you can't have concepts if you don't have all 28 matter. Is that what it really means?
No. Why this is the question of stability, right? The question of stability. How can the mind completely fall towards a state or bend towards a state. Right. Now, if we are to take, I'm sorry, I have to do a wardrobe change again. It's so hot. Excuse me for a moment. Okay. The reason is now, for example, if we are to take, a kusala mind, let's say we are doing something which is a kusala, right? Something with that we want to be with, something that we like experiencing, even samadhi, right? Anything, right? Something that we want to be with. Even let us, okay, let's throw away the profound examples and go towards something very mundane, right? Eating something which we like, because that is also possible. Remember why? Because we have here the greed rooted chittas, isn't it? Right, so let's take a mundane example. So we have some food which we like, right? Based on which, right, there can be a predominance object condition there, right? Greed rooted. Now, when that happens, all right, this is the object is something which we like, hence it can be adipati, right? Now, the question is then, isn't this a prajñapti as well? Isn't it?
Yeah.
Isn't this a prajñapti as well? Why isn't prajñapti here? So makes sense. Padma's question is valiant. It makes sense, right? But what do we truly cling on to is then the other question we must ask. Do you understand?
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right? What do we truly cling on to? Now, for example, if I am to take my, one of my sort of quirks, which is cheesecake, New York cheesecake, right? Frozen, not baked, with a lemon dressing, right? Now, what do we cling on to?
Right.
Do we not cling on to the Vedana, the sensation, the pleasure connected towards that experience more than the cheesecake itself? If we are clinging onto the cheesecake itself, then anything that looks of such should be something that we would then, which is not. It's the Vedana.
Okay.
Do you understand?
Yeah. Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Right? Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayo, Vanna, Gandha, Rasa, Oja. That is your answer.
Okay.
Vanna, Gandha, Rasa, Oja. Now that is there within the concrete matter. That is what we cling on to.
Right.
Right? That Vanna, Gandha, Rasa, Oja, as a result, does give a pleasure, a sense, a Vedana, right? And that Vedana is what the Upadanaskandha clings on to. You got it?
Yeah.
Not the
Thank you.
Prajñapti.
No. Okay.
Yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. Thank you.
Yeah? So what is the difference here? What is the difference, to point it out more vividly, is the fact that in Arammana Pachaya, the object, because of this object being taken as object, gives rise to the 89 chittas and 52 chittasikas. Right? Aramana, Aramunak. A Aramunama Tamai is a conditioning state. In Aramana Adipati, the whole mind must bend towards the object. Right? That bending doesn't just happen. That bending happens when there is something that we like, something that we can cling on to, something that brings a pleasurable feeling, whether it is mundane or supramundane. Or else that bending does not happen. Is that clear, everyone? I hope it is. Right? Does anyone need a further explanation? Padma?
No, thank you. I'm
Good.
fine now. Yeah.
Lovely. All right. So, shall we move on? Any other questions? Okay, let's move on. Proximity condition. You said 306, isn't it? Yes, here it is. Thank you so much. Let me just increase. Right. Proximity condition. Proximity and continuity, right? These two conditions are identical in meaning. They differ only in the letter, which highlights the same relation from slightly different angles. Formally defined, proximity condition is a condition where one mental state, the conditioning state, causes another mental state, the conditioned state, to arise immediately after it has ceased. To arise immediately after it has ceased, so that no other mental state can intervene between them. So that no other mental state can intervene between them. Continuity condition is a condition where the conditioning mental state causes the conditioned mental state to arise immediately after it has ceased. Immediately after it has ceased. In accordance with the fixed order of the mental process. These two conditions apply to the same relationship between Chitta and Cetasikas, ceasing at a given moment, and the Chitta and Cetasika that arise in immediate succession. Again, these two conditions apply to the relationship between Chitta and Cetasikas, ceasing at any given moment, and the Chitta and Cetasika that arise in immediate succession. The Chitta and Cetasikas that have just ceased are the conditioning state. The Chitta and Cetasikas that arise immediately afterwards are the conditioned states. The death consciousness of an Arahant, however, does not function as proximity or continuity condition, since it is not followed by any other Chitta. Now let us go to the chart. Pushpa, do you have a question, Pushpa?
No, Bhante.
Okay. Now, proximity, number 4, everyone. Right? So, proximity condition is about the fact that the 89 Chittas and 52 Cetasikas arise immediately after or succeeding the previous 89 Chittas and 52 Cetasikas, excluding the Arhat's death consciousness. Right? Excluding the Arhat's death consciousness. Now, this is when we look at a Viti, when we look at a Chitta Viti, right? There is a law of Chitta Viti. It's not a haphazard, just sort of. It's not a process which is haphazardous. It is a process which happens, and this process that happens, there is a form, a technique which sort of falls after the Chakku Vijnana, after the jhavanas, depending upon the object. Now, when it comes to, if we look at this process, initially I remember, thinking, oh, who governs this process? How does this, isn't there a sense of Atma in this process also, in a sense, because there is a sense of governance within this process, right? But it is truly not. This process, right now, pachya such as proximity condition, continuity condition, these processes are governed, or is a result of many other situations working in a harmonious flow, right? In a harmonious flow, not negated, just simply cause and effect, flowing in a continuous nature of affecting the causes, affecting the results, all of these things, which brings together, for example, if we would take the power of our arammana, whether it is atimahantarammana, mahantarammana, atimahantarammana, mahantarammana, parittarammana, atiparittarammana, kuddakarammana, atikuddakarammana, right? If we would take these processes, we know the power of the object is conditioned, right? Is dependent upon many other causes, right? If we would merely take the lighting of the room, if the room is not well lit, if there is not enough light coming in, we would not be able to see everything which is in the room, right? Especially if we are trying to find something small, that we can easily miss. But the object is there, the object is familiar. We know the color, the shape, and all of that, but we are unable to find it because it's not well lit. We can't see it in the room. Hence, now you see the light, the conditions, the many other conditions, whether the mind is focused or not. Although sometimes the room is well lit, the mind is not focused because of some distraction that has just happened. Maybe it is a chaotic situation at home. Maybe you're being rushed to go somewhere, right? All of these things sort of play a part and role in how the conditions are presented. These conditions match up to this sort of flow that we have, right? And this now when we are unable, we would say our gross minds would be able to see, okay, if there are many clouds in the sky, we would be able to say, it'll be hot, it'll be cold. Now we can realize or figure out these types of things, right? People who know, people who have studied, people with more acute sense of intelligence or data or whatnot would be able to talk about photosynthesis and all of these other processes, right? Just the Buddha has evaluated the causes, the Hetupacha Dharma to such an extent where he has realized all of these, whether arammanas, karma, anusaya, chitta shakti, all of these things sort of match up and they arise. So see, the Buddha has had such an ability that even Sariputta Maharatan Vahanse or Mogallan Maharatan Vahanse does not possess, to be able to see the cause and effect to such an extent where he saw the process of Chitta Niyama. Chitta Niyama, not because the Chitta governs itself. No, it is a law of nature. Meaning, whatever happens, this is the way the cognitive process would work based upon, again, cause and effect. Do you understand? Right? It's like, for example, when we look at a chart manifesting inflation, right? Manifesting inflation, right? Spending patterns and all of that. Now we would see the curve, right? If we are looking at a curve depicting, for example, let's say a property bubble or something of that sort, where we have a turning curve like that, right? Now we would see, when we first study, we would see, just this x and y axis, right? The x and y axis, and we would see this curve. What we are living, right? What we are living are the minute parts of, not the whole curve, but minute positions and parts of that curve, which is depicted within that whole sort of axis. That is not seen by a normal person. That is seen by a person who understands that data, right? The Buddha's mind, this is the Buddha's Tikshana Nuwana, which our minds don't go deep into. We can have Tikshana Nuwana, but it cannot be compared. So we must realize this is not a governed process. This is a process which happens simply because of cause and effect. The extent to which we understand cause and effect would truly determine the extent to which, where we understand, is there Atma or is there no Atma? Do you understand? Because I remember initially looking at the Chittaviti diagram, I thought, this is also kind of like programmed, isn't it? Even when we talk about the Niyama, we think of Mother Nature or something which is sort of negating this whole position. But it is truly not. It is simply cause and effect. Right? Simply cause and effect. Even there is a bhavanga process. When the mind goes into a position of deep rest, not taking arammana, the mind settles within the object of pratisandhi that brought about the life force during that lifetime. A restful state. That restful state, when an arammana appears, depending upon the power of the arammana, that restful state will be disturbed. If it is a very powerful object, the time of that disturbance is short because it is strong. But if the object is weaker, the bhavanga time increases. Why? It takes a lot more for the awakening from that restful state to happen. You see? Now that is depicted by the fact of Atimahantarammana being the fastest time that we wake from a restful bhavanga state, and Khuddakarammana being the most amounts of bhavangas that we see, isn't it? Now you see cause and effect, everyone. It's not negated by anyone. It's not negated by Atma. It is simply cause and effect. That cause and effect process in proximity condition, or conditions such as proximity and continuity, that when there is an energy which is present, this energy is going to negate, or this energy is going to now determine what arises after it. Because this energy cannot just disappear into thin air. It has to go through a process of conversion. That conversion has to happen. And in that process of conversion, when this is a hateful chitta, the next moment is also going to be conditioned by this hateful chitta. Isn't it? Right? By this hateful chitta. Now that is what proximity condition and continuity condition talks about. Proximity condition is specifically focuses on the fact of what arises next. Do you understand? Continuity condition focuses on the fact that nothing foreign will intrude this process. It's going to continue. Its demise is going to continue by the arising of something else, conditioned by what just ceased to exist. Do you understand? Conditioned by that which just simply ceased to exist. Right? The energy, I remember my teacher talking about how the process of water heating, how one molecule particle heated up passes that heat to the other particle, and that process continuing to happen, isn't it? Right? That process continuing to happen, cell from cell, particle to particle, the heat transference happening. In the same manner, when a loaded chitta arises, that impact of the chitta doesn't just disappear. That impact of the chitta causes or conditions the next chitta to be affected by that impact. Right? Because it is not as if in the disappearance of this chitta, now it is depicted in a sort of a line, isn't it? Right? We draw it, chitta, chitta 1, chitta 2, chitta 3, we draw it in a line, isn't it? Yeah, 17 chittakshan we draw in a line, but actually that line does not exist. It is simply, if we are to take 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, it's happening at that place, isn't it? It's not a line, it's not something which is like followed. It's simply happening, that energy is taking place. Do you understand? Right? So when this energy happens, it affects that other energy which arises after it. Is that clear, everyone? So proximity condition. Yes, Damsiri.
Bhante, can you repeat that? I'm trying to understand the slight difference between proximity and contiguity. The first one, proximity, is what you said, what arises next.
Yes.
Right?
What arises next.
Next. And the continuity one is what continues. Is it? Or
Continuity is the fact that it's ceasing causes another to arise.
Sorry.
So in proximity, when one chitta arises and passes, this chitta conditions the situation of the other chitta.
Yeah, okay.
Right? By a state of effect, right? By its energy. In continuity, so it is talking about this chitta that arises, where as it sees, or when it does cease, it conditions the next chitta. Right? In continuity condition. Now, mind you, this is the meaning of how the intensity of the condition. Because remember, there are anomalies where, for example, agantaka bhavanga arises. Right? So now the intensity of this condition that we are speaking of is the fact that it is explained within the commentaries to say that when a chitta fades or ceases to exist, it doesn't entirely cease. Because remember, everyone, a chitta doesn't enter, or the chitta doesn't stop, isn't it? A chitta simply doesn't stop up until the arahanta death consciousness happens. A chitta does not stop. There is continuity, right? So in proximity condition, when a chitta fades, right? When a chitta fades, the moment or this energy is not, it cannot be completely lost, basically. If there is a moment that it is completely lost, then maybe we could measure the end of chitta, which in Abhidhamma it says categorically that chitta does not in proximity conditions, only the arahanta death consciousness does not fall under proximity condition. Why? Because that is the only moment the chitta stops absolutely. Is that clear, Damsari? Right? Yeah, I can't hear you, Damsari.
You can continue. You can continue.
Okay, thank you. The Arahanta, so the Arahanta death consciousness is the only position where the chitta completely stops. So in proximity condition, when the chitta fades, before a certain energy, when that certain or grounded by that energy, the other moment arises. Do you understand? Right? That is proximity condition. Right? But then what is continuity condition? Continuity condition is the fact that one consciousness has to cease for another to arise. Yeah? And there is no foreign invasion of other energies coming into this process. චක්කු විඤ්ඤාණ වීතිය දුවන අවස්ථාවක සෝත විඤ්ඤාණයක් එකපාරම හට ගන්නෑ. ඒ වීතිය මැදට. Right? Why? Because of the continuity. Continuity of what? Continuity of that mental mind energy. Yeah? Is that clear, everyone? Yeah? So that is where in proximity condition and continuity condition, what this sort of sheds light upon is this connectedness or the connected stream of consciousness that lasts throughout samsara, which enables a being when developing jnana such as parachitta vijnana jnana, Pubbē Nivāsanusati jnana, right? For beings to see that stream, the only position where beings fall from a stream is where our favorite place to talk about, asanna satta. Right? That is the only place where we sense a break in that stream. Only place. Yeah. Yes, Padma.
No, this sentence, part of the sentence saying, in accordance with the fixed order of the mental process. Now they say it for the contiguity condition and not for the proximity condition.
I'm sorry, could you repeat that please again?
There's a part of a sentence in the middle of that paragraph.
Yeah.
It says, in accordance with the fixed order of the mental process.
Yes.
And this says it to the contiguity and not for the proximity.
Okay.
So does that mean it's the chitta viti they're talking about there, that according to the fixed order of the mental process, that it will carry on, as you are saying, Sota can't jump in between chakku and all that?
Yes, that is a chitta niyama, the chitta viti.
Thank you.
Yeah, the chitta niyama. Sujatha?
Bhante, yes. Is it all connected to the law of nature?
Is that all connected to the law of nature? Now, it depends on how you view the law of nature.
That's what I'm still wondering. I was listening.
Yes.
And I thought this was all what nature was doing.
The thing is, that is the problem. We assume that nature, because I think we all grow up, with this sense of mother nature, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Right? And when it comes to this level of thought, we must realize that this nature that we are referring to is a collection of so many processes happening continuously, which loves mother nature or makes mother nature, I'm using this word, mother nature or nature, be what it is. You know what I mean? So when we say, so there is no being in nature.
No being, yeah.
There is no being in nature, right? I was thinking about this, Sujatha, is that clear? There is no being in nature.
Yes.
Cause and effect, right? Yeah. And we should not sort of delude ourselves in assuming that there is sort of a singular process, which is not true. There are so many, an uncountable, infinite number of processes that are happening right at this moment, allowing the world to be what it is, samsara to be what it is. right? Cause and effect. Cause and effect.
Yes, I was thinking of that as well when I was asking this question.
Yes.
Yes.
Right. So simply cause and effect. Now it is almost as if, we assume before studying the Abhidhamma, or before even before we think about it, really. I mean, think about it with a sense of knowledge. We assume that we hear, smell, feel, the processes of Chakku, Sota, Ghana, Jibha, and Kaya happen almost together. But we know now that it does not happen together, that it is a process which happens so fast, right? That we assume that it happens together, but it does not, right? And in deep states of meditation, actually not deep states of meditation, we realize this for ourselves, isn't it? Right?
Yeah.
Now, I was thinking, Sujata, have I answered your question?
Yes, thank you, Bhante. I think got into my head now. I
Good.
think I did. Thank you very much, Bhante.
Thank you very much for asking, Sujata. Now, I was thinking about this as well. The fact of, for example, we talk about network, right? Network in a 2D sense, right? But this network, just imagine nodes of a network, infinite in nature, and diverse beyond anything that we've realized before, diverse, right? Now, here at this moment, we are connecting, we have come together at a frequency of Dhamma, right? At a frequency of Dhamma. Now, there are times, depending on the occasion, we will come together as friends, as people who have come together to enjoy, maybe, as people who've come together to do whatever else. Right? Now, the same person or even different persons, depending on the adimokha, right? Depending on the adimokha, we will find ourselves in a situation completely different to what we were a moment ago or maybe an hour ago. This network, like samsara, these nodes, they do not operate just on a 2D level, but they operate on such a there's a parallel nature to any adimokha that arises, right? For example, the mere fact that if you had, now let us say, the professionals in this group, if you had decided to drop out of university, and pursue something else, your life would be entirely different, right? Entirely different. Let us say you chose to drop out and select something that would not give you the opportunity to migrate or anything like that, or you decide on a career stream that was in Sri Lanka, or whatnot. See the potential of life, the networks and nodes that are possible, that is infinite in nature, because any decision that we make is within the world, and that life is such that just chitta, chetasika, rupa, nibbana, take away nibbana, chitta, chetasika and rupa can connect. There is so much of potential, it connects with different potential energies at the moment that adimokha takes place. That is the power of adimokha, the adimokha chetasika, right? That decision is then what powers and triggers us to connect to those different nodes and networks just as the moment we take the decision, right? So life, I mean, look at that in a sense of cause and effect, and you just realize, my gosh, that's how vast the Buddha's experience is. So vast that there is no self to be seen, just mechanism after mechanism after mechanism. That is the extent of the Buddha's wisdom, the Buddha's vision, the Buddha's experience of omniscience. No? The ability to realize and understand. I mean, at that level, how can the Buddha have any hate or sort of animosity towards a person like Angulimala or Patachara or Chinchimanikya or any person who has wronged Buddha or even Devadatta? Because we realize the mechanisms that were in place, a decision that was made, Devadatta's jealousy, which started, ages ago, lifetimes ago, triggered that whole process. Through the Buddha's omniscience, he sees that mechanism happening right before his eyes. No?
Bhante,
Yeah.
omniscience. Can you just explain what omniscience is?
Oh my God. Okay.
Not omnipresent. Is omnipresent is something else.
Okay. Wow. Okay. Now this I've got to think. What is omniscience?
Yeah.
Sujata really testing us today, huh?
No, when I get stuck, I want to ask. Otherwise, I just listen.
So omniscience, right? Omniscience. Let's go for the meaning, right? Omniscient, by definition, right, is knowing everything, all knowing, all seeing, right? Omniscient,
Knowing everything.
all knowing, all seeing, right? And the Buddha's omniscience is such that it is said the Buddha's omniscience appears when the Buddha wants it to appear, right? ඒ කියන්නේ when the Buddha යම්කිසි දෙයක් යම්කිසි දෙයක් බුදුරජාණන් වහන්සේ අරමුණු කරනවා නම් ඒ අරමුණු කරන ඒ අරමුණ පදනම් කරාගෙන ඒ අරමුණ පිළිබඳ ඒ සියල්ල දත්තේ බුදු පියාණන් වහන්සේගේ මනසට වැටහෙනවා. Right? Just as, for example, if we might know thousands of people,
Yeah.
or met or know stories of so many people in our life, right? Maybe we've not thought about them in ages, right? But now, we see them and then sort of we think, oh my gosh, I haven't seen this person in such a long time, and you kind of reminisce. And then all these sort of memories come back. The Buddha's wisdom and the power, the miraculous power of his mind is such that the Buddha will be able to target that object in such a way that he will know everything about that object. Do you understand? That sense of omniscience, how can that sense of omniscience arise? Phubbe nimasanusati jnana, parachitta vijanana jnana, anagatansa jnana, and then nama rupa. The thing is that omniscience is supported by so much of knowledge, so much of insight, so much of abilities that have been cultivated, that the Buddha, when he sees us, he can see deep into our samsaric journey itself.
Gosh.
Do you understand? That is how omniscience comes about. It is not just a miraculous power. That miraculous power is simply fueled by the ability of having access to all of these other abilities, which can give me such a targeted vision into this person's entirety. Do you understand?
Lovely.
Bhante, is it same as දිවසින් දැක්ක කියන්නේ සානස?
දිවසින් දැක්කා.
බුදුරජාණන් වහන්සේ දිවසින් දැක්ක.
But දිවසින් දැක්කා, omniscience.
I don't know, Bhante.
It can fall into omniscience, right? It can fall into omniscience, right? Divasin dakima can fall into omniscience, right? But I don't think that word encompasses the whole entirety of omniscience. What is the Sinhala word for omniscience?
Siyalu de dat.
Siyalu de dat. There is no other word, ne?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
Okay, siyalu de dat. Yeah. So yes, Sujata, I hope I've
Yes. And Bhante, it's only the Buddha has that knowledge and nobody else.
no one else, because because the extent to which the Buddha has access. Now, it is said, we've heard, for example, Venerable Sariputta has the ability of telling you the number of raindrops that falls within the Majjhima Pradesh of India, right? Which encapsulates most of almost the whole entirety of Middle India, right? Sariputta Thero is able to tell you the exact number of drops of water that falls during a great rain, great rain, Mahavarshavaka, right? However, being so, having such abilities, Venerable Sariputta is not omniscient as well. Right? Venerable Sariputta too is unable to see the proper process of Chittaviti for himself. Right? Meaning the Buddha pointed and Sariputta realized. So that is it in itself great. Right?
Yes.
However, for Venerable Sariputta to come up with it on his own is impossible.
Yeah, that's what they say. There's no comparison other than the Buddha and another Buddha. No other person could be compared to the knowledge of the Buddha.
Yes. Yeah, Sujata, all right.
Yes, yeah. Thank you.
All right, Sujata, thank you for asking the question. Yes, Dil.
No, just to say that Sujata want to know the difference between omniscience, which you explained, all-knowing, and omnipresence. Omnipresence is everywhere at the same time. That's the difference. Thank you, Bhante.
Yes. And I think omnipresence is a word that is sort of used to sort of speak about the presence of God.
That's right.
That is yes.
Yeah. And also omnipotent, the powerful, infinite possibilities. Because they say God is omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent, and that is infinite possibilities. Thank you, Bhante. Thank you.
Thank you, Dil, for adding that in as well. So now are we able to continue? Is that fine? Any questions? Any more questions?
Bhante,
Yes.
shall we, because this proximity and contiguity, these samantara pacha, they are less explained in Bhikkhu Bodhi's write-up.
Yes.
So you have add so many information for that one actually. So let's talk about a example. Now, when it comes to proximity,
Okay.
will that be now when you have a chitta viti, it's moving from atita bhavanga, bhavanga chalana, bhavanga pacheda. So that different stages of the chitta viti is a case of proximity.
Different case of chitta viti is due to proximity.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like one when you have a sampatichana, then followed by santirna, vottappana. So these every stages continues with the next one. That's that's because of the proximity, right? And at the same time, the case of there are two cases actually. When somebody comes out of Nirodha Samapatti, right? Nirodha Samapatti is the place where you cease your thought process.
Okay.
Right? Yeah. So when you come out from the Nirodha Samapatti, you continue with the same Chitta Viti. You stop at the beginning and continue with that. That's also because of the proximity.
Proximity cause.
Yeah.
Yes.
And similarly, when somebody is born again from coming out from Asanya Satta, again you continue with the thought process.
Yes.
because of the proximity.
Proximity. Yeah.
That's what some books explain.
Hmm.
But when it comes to contiguity or samantara, it's actually what you stress is yes, I really like that explanation. It's actually the conditioning Dhamma ceases, and then the condition once appears. So after ceasing, so in Sinhala it says pratya niruddha veemen
Hmm.
pasu ඇතිවෙන එක කියලා. So that means the good example is the in your thought process, your previous I think it's called pura chitta is actually pura chitta is giving the strength to the paschima or later chittas.
Yes.
So is it the correct sort of explanation?
Yes. Purima, Pachima,
Pachima, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
Ketu. Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So yes, absolutely, Damsari. Thank you for adding those pertinent
Yeah, okay.
examples into the mix as well.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Okay.
Thank you so much,
Thank
Damsari.
you.
Now, are we able, any other questions anyone might have with regards to proximity and continuity, or are we able to sort of proceed with Sahajata, please? Dil, I see your mic is muted. Do you have a question?
No.
All right. Right. So number 6, everyone. Number 6, Conascence. Right.
It will be page 317.
Thank you so much. 317, everyone. Conascence condition. Conascence condition is a condition where a conditioning state on arising causes the conditioned states to arise simultaneously with itself. This is compared to the flame of a lamp, which, on arising, causes the light, color, and heat to arise along with it. This condition may be divided into 3 types, as is done in the above text, or it may be more finely divided into 5 types. 1. Each mental state, chitta or chetasika, for the associated mental states, right? For the associated mental states. Each mental state for the connascent material phenomena. Each of the four great essentials for the other 3 great essentials, right? For each of the 4 great essentials for derived material phenomenon, right? And 5, at the moment of rebirth linking, the heart base for the resultant mental states, and the latter in turn for the heart base, and the latter in turn for the heart base, right? Now let us go to the chart. Here we go. Right, connascence. Both at rebirth and existence, 89 chitta. So what are we talking about? Sahajata. The fact that as the conditioning state arises, it causes the arising of the conditioned state. Is that clear, everyone? As the conditioning state arises, it causes the arising of the conditioned state, right? So the first one is both at rebirth and existence. Both at rebirth and existence. 89 chittas, 52 chetasikas, which support each other and conascent matter. And conascent matter, right? Gives rise to 89 chittas, 52 chetasikas supported by each other and conascent matter, right? Conascent matter. Now, what kind of situation is this? When chittas and chetasikas, right, with chittas and chetasikas, at the moment of both rebirth and existence, when a certain chitta arises, owing to the identity, the energy, the power of this chitta, it conditions the arising of chetasikas as well. Isn't it? It does. Right? Now, what about, the 52 chetasikas which support each other? Why is it that we find the 89 chittas, the 52 chetasikas which support each other, and the repetition of 89 chittas and 52 chetasikas supported by each other? Right? Now, there are instances within the chittas. Now, chittas and chetasikas support each other. We know that. It arises to ekupada, ekupnirodho, ekarammana. We know that story. It's an old story. Right? Now, why is it? Now, in Sahajata Pachaya, we find, as we have already also done the rest of the Pachayas already, we know there are certain instances where certain Chaitasika dharmas, right? Certain Chaitasika dharmas, right? Attribute or bring a certain power with it, right? Certain power with it, which affects the Chitta Chetasika union. Isn't it? And I'm sorry, the word union is not correct. The Chitta Chetasika, the Chittas and Chetasikas. Interpretation or a certain part, an example that we can take is simply, practice of the Noble Eightfold Path. Right? When it comes to the cultivation of the Noble Eightfold Path, right? When we take, for example, Samma Sati, isn't Samma Sati the cultivation of the Sati Chetasika? Right? If we are to take examples such as that, right? Even if we are to take, for example, the Indriyas, right? The Indriyas, in the same manner, Chaitasika dharmas, right? We see when these Chaitasikas, with the Chittas, of course, when they arise, they have an effect upon that whole rest that arises with it. Do you understand? Hence we have 89 Chittas, 52 Chetasikas, which support each other and their conascent matter. Right? Their conascent matter. We concluded in Chittaja Rupas, right? Chittaja Rupas, conascent matter now. So Chittaja Rupas, right? We concluded what groups of the Chittaja Rupas can arise, isn't it? Last time. What was the conclusion? Do we remember? Do we remember what the conclusion was? I hope we do. we concluded that in the six, out of the six consciousness born, right, that all of them are able to perform or be respectively Conascent, Chittada, Rupas, right? Going through the different positions that they can arise, right? So now, when it comes to Sahajata, both at rebirth and existence, 89 chittas, 52 chetasikas, which support each other, and Conascent matter condition the arising of 89 chittas, 52 chetasikas supported by each other and Conascent matter. Right? Now remember, although we are saying 89 chittas, 52 chetasikas, we are talking about potential here. Don't forget that. Right? Each case and scenario, what we are simply saying is 89 chittas and 52 chetasikas have the ability of conditioning the arising of their respectful counterparts, which includes 89 chittas, 52 chetasikas, and Sahajata Rupas. Is that clear, everyone? Is that clear? Yeah? Good. Can we, any questions?
I think when you say 89 chittas and 52 chaitasikas, when it comes to actual application of this condition, it operates in groups, right?
Yeah.
It's not random selection of any 5 or 10, or it operates in specific groups.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Because, yes, Dhamma, please go on.
Yeah, because it can be akusala chitta, or it can be kusala chitta, wholesome or unwholesome, or what do you call in English word for abhyakata, none akusala, no kusala.
Neither kusala nor akusala.
Neither. Yeah. So they operate in bunches or in groups, right? So because here I misunderstood initially when I read the 89 chittas and 52 chaitasikas. So it's a lump together. So in reality, actually, it operates in groups.
Well, if we might clear that up a little bit more, right?
Yeah.
Now, dependent upon the respective situation, right? Depending upon the respective situation and the cognitive process that is present directly with the object, right?
Yeah.
Those, if we are to say, like the first responders almost, right? But the thing is, these chittas, or what we might call a group, we must not misunderstand it to be something like a kalapa, right?
Yeah.
But simply the fact that certain chittas and chaitasikas, or chitta and chaitasikas, right, have a sense of predominance or have a sense of power in comparison to the rest. And that power can shift and change dependent upon the occasion, the situation, the arammana, the conditions, and all of that.
Okay. Yeah.
Right? So we must not assume that it is like a group, but however, dependent upon the situation, right, and the cognition that is taking place, certain chittas, because it's sahajata, no?
Yeah.
Because it's sahajata, right? Certain consciousness powers, mental powers, or mental chittas and chaitasikas, dependent upon their respective situation, can have a sense of energy or higher sense of energy, or energy that sort of dominates in a certain manner, right? Which sort of brings the chitta and the chaitasikas towards the object. A good example is again satya, right? Because when we talk about taking of object, and the mind sort of going into, or sort of completely adverting towards its object, right? Certain powers of mind, chitta and chetasika, certain powers of that mind can take or operate with a sense of dominance, or a leading, in a way of leading the path, heading the group, but it is a group altogether because it's sahajata. Because we do not want to create any misunderstandings, to assume that one group arises and another group follows. No, that can't be sajat. Make එකටම හටගන්නේ. මේක එකටමයි හටගන්නේ. ඒතේ හටගන්න ඒ මොහොතේ අවස්ථාවේ යම් යම් ධර්මයන්ට ඒ වැඩිපුර ශක්තියක් තිබෙන්න පුළුවන්. Right? Now, for example, if we are talking about virya, now virya can be conditioned by yoniso manasikara or ayoniso manasikara, for example. If you are to take a yoniso manasikara instance, right, the personality, the characteristic of the person might be fueled by this sort of virya. Virya is a chaitasika dharma. The virya chaitasika dharma can sort of negate the way that we grapple onto the object. ඒ කියන්නේ යම් කිසි කුසලයක් අපි කරනවා, we try to sort of do a certain perform a certain kusala, there are disturbances. However, right, let's talk about a very sort of specific scenario. We are trying to meditate, right, but there are disturbances. What are the disturbances? Maybe sound, maybe sort of sound, presence, the presence of others, right, anxiety, or maybe different disturbances, right? However, regardless of the disturbance, I am committed to keep on trying virya. Now see the composition of the mind, right, taking meditation or whatever object as object, and virya guiding it towards, now see, heading that process. But does not mean that this is all about virya. But the way that I approach this subject is virya bound, or sort of, not virya bound, I'm sorry, wrong word, supported by virya, empowered by virya, energized by virya, but the same group, sahajata dharma. No? Yeah? So, of course, we can talk about it through Indriya Pachya as well. Right? Indriya Pachya as well, we can talk about it, but here we are talking about the fact that they arise together. Do you understand? That they arise together. Yeah? Is that clear, everyone?
Yeah.
Any questions? Is it very clear? Devika, how are we? Okay, I hope it is clear, or else I'm very happy to sort of go over it again for anyone. All right, so then can we then move on to B, right? 4 great essentials which support each other and derived matter. Conditions. The conditioned states become 4 great essentials supported by one another, each other, derived conascent matter. Right? Now what is this? We know Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayo exists everywhere, in any form of physicality. Right? In any form of physicality. But Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayo exists in a form of mutual conditioning as well. where it supports one another. Anyamanya prati, where it supports one another, right? While it supports one another, it exists together. It arises together. One does not arise or beat another at the race of how fast it arises. It arises together. One's existence depends on the existence of the other three. Do you understand? Right? Hence we have 4 great essentials which support each other. Right? Which support each other. Why they say now there is no time that the 4 great essentials don't support each other. Why do they mention support each other? Right? Could you give me a moment, please? I'm going to come back very quickly. Sorry about that. Too much water in my system. So, right. So, why does it mention which supports each other? Because there can be, when it comes to kalapas, we know, is there only one kalapa happening? No. We have an uncountable number of kalapas taking place, isn't it? As we speak, processes going on, right? So this is relating to that respective kalapa. Do you understand why it uses which supports each other? Is that clear? So we are not referring to Patavi of one kalapa and the Tejo, Apo, Vayu of another kalapa. No, we are referring to the same kalapa, right? Which supports each other. Which supports each other. Right? Now, when it comes to which support each other, is that clear, everyone? And derived matter, right? So if it is now with regards to here, 4 great essentials which supports each other. So one of the 4 great essentials and the rest of the 3 here. Do you understand? Right? One of the 4 great essentials and rest here. It truly depends on who we are looking at. If we are looking at Patavi, so Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu here. But if you're looking at Apo, then Apo here, Patavi, Tejo, Vayu. Do you understand? Depends on who we are looking at or what we are looking at. I'm sorry. What we are looking at, right? So within that respective form that we choose to look at, it can have all of those situations. Do you understand? Because why? It mutually supports each other, right? Sahajat. Right? Now, and derived matter. Derived matter, and what do we have here? Derived conascent matter. Right? Derived conascent matter. Here, we know where do the derived matter come from? The derived matter comes from the Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu. That is why it's called derived. Upadaya Rupa, isn't it? Right? Upadaya Rupa. These derived matters, right? These derived matter comes about by the existence of the four great essentials, right? And the four great essentials. The conditioning state becomes, right, the four great essentials supported by each other, which we've already done, and derived conascent matter. Those matters that arise, the derived matters that arise together with that formation, that kalapa, right? That kalapa, that formation, right? Now, can we take an example? Would that be better? Yes, of course. Now, let us see. Where is the Rupa chart? Here it is. Right. Now, the derived matters start from 19 onwards, right? Is it 19 onwards? No. No. 4 onwards, 5 onwards, right? 5 onwards. Upadaya Rupas. Correct? Okay. So now, if we are to look, right? Now, Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu, right? Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu. Now you see Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu existing, right? Now, conascent derived matter. Patavi, let us look at these 21 groupings. 21 groupings. Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu exists everywhere because it must know, right? It has to. Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu is the foundation, the bedrock of physicality. It exists. Now, if we are to take any sort of presence now, Sahajata, Upadaya, Rupa. If we would take now, let us take femininity card, right? Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu, right? Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu, and then the rest are the Upadaya Rupas, the conascent Upadaya Rupas there. Okay? Yeah? So, if we are to look at, let's say, Patavi, then the conditioning state, right, becomes Patavi. The conditioned state becomes water, fire, and air, right, together with the Sahajata, Upadaya Rupas, which are the rest. Is that clear? Is that understood? Right? Now, there is another situation, which is that. That situation is, oops, done. Can you see this? You can, right? Okay. The other situation is, now, why do we have 4 great essentials which supports each other and derived matter, right? And derived matter on the conditioning states, on the conditioning state, and the conditioned state is 4 great essentials supported by each other. We've discussed that. And the derived conascent matter. And the derived conascent matter. The matter that arises together. Right? What is that situation? Do you get what I mean? Now we have, I'm talking about why is there within the conditioning state and derived matter. Right? And derived matter. Whilst, and the conditioning state is 4 great essentials supported by each other and derived conascent matter. What is that about? What is that situation? What is that situation? Anyone?
Bhante,
Yes, Chamari.
what it's saying, I think, is when the four great essentials occur, alongside that occurs the derived materiality. And because it is alongside the four great, it's called conascent. In the conditioning state, it's saying two sentences, but connected with the and.
Uh-huh.
So it's four great essentials which support each other,
Okay.
because all four come up together. And then also four great essentials supporting derived matter.
Supporting derived matter. The comma.
Yeah,
Supporting,
and because it's the
supporting.
first one does it on it's one set, and then because four great essentials occurring, it will also occur, give rise to the derived matter. Those are the two possibilities for the materiality there. And then how it is conascent, they are saying it arises together in the conditioned.
So, thank you, Chamari. So, we are relating to the Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu, if we are to take the Varna, Gandha, Rasa, Oja, and all of that, which arises conascent with the Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu.
Sorry, Bhante, are you looking for more? So I would say the two things is, if you take Patavi, conascent with Patavi, all the other three arise.
All the others.
That's one set. The sentence with the and in the conditioning state is arising of the four great essentials, all four arising. With that arise the derived matter.
The derived matter.
Upadaya rupa.
Okay.
So there are two things. Rather than a comma, they're just using and. When it comes to the conditioned, it's not a real separation there because they happen together.
Yes.
But what happens? What are they actually referring to? You know, the glass is half empty is also the same as glass is half full.
Full.
So in that way, you just separate the first one with a comma, the same one before the and in the conditioning state, four great essentials supported by each other. So if you take Vayu there, then it is supported by Patavi, Tejo, and what's the other one I'm missing?
Vayu.
Yeah. So those three, and then there's another outcome, which is derived conascent matter. That is all of it, you know, the four great essentials and the Upadaya Rupa, all of the whole Kalapa, if you like. Whole inseparable, what's it called?
Unit.
Suddhastaka. Yeah.
Suddhashtaka. All right. Thank you, Chamari. So is that Chamari explained that to us wonderfully? Is that clear, everyone? So when the four great essentials, should I explain it again? Yes. So when it comes to the four great essentials which support each other and derived matter, right? And derived matter. And then we have the four great essentials supported by each other, derived conascent matter, right? Oh my. All right. Give me a moment, please. Give me a moment. The Dana people have come. So we are referring to the four great essentials, right? When these are all sahajata. So when we are referring to the four great essentials, the kalapas, the suddhashtakas, they all arise together. They all arise together. So within the conditioning state, we have four great essentials which support each other, and derived matter, right? And derived matter conditioning the arising of the rest of the four great essentials, right? And their conascent matter. So if we are to take, for example, Patavi, right? Patavi in the conditioning, then we take the Apo Tejo Vayu and the derived matter in the rest, right? In the rest. Is that clear, everyone? If it is Patavi, if we take Patavi as a conditioning state, then we would take Apo Tejo Vayu, right? And the derived matter, and the rest of the derived matter, Vanna, Gandha, Rasa, Oja, Jivitindriya, whatever, whichever kalapa we are looking at, we would have to take nutriment and all of that which arises in that kalapa. Is that clear? Right? So, the four great essentials that support each other and derived matter, because it's sahajat, right? It supports. It's sahajat, isn't it? Because it's not one arises and then causes another to arise. It arises together, right? So what Chamari clearly brought to light is this use of and derived matter, and on the other side what we have is a comma, right? So here it is the four great essentials which support each other and derived matter, because it is sahajata. And then, so whatever we are looking at, the rest becomes the rest of the four essentials and the derived matter, all of the derived matter. Is that clear? Dil? Right? So if we are to look at the chart, here, oops, sorry. You can see the chart, yes? So let us take the ID card. And we are looking at, let us say, air, the air element, right? The air element. So air element is the conditioning state, and derived matter supported by the four, right? So it's sahajata, right? So within a kalapa, we are looking at, let us say, Patavi, or in this case Vayu. All the rest fall under the conditioned, right? If we are to take Patavi, earth, in the ID card, so Patavi and the rest of the three of the great essentials, and the supported derived matter, which is also present there. Why? It's sahajata. Is that clear? Yeah, makes sense? Because it's sahajata. It arises together in that suddhashtaka. Right? Now, as we then discussed, owing for example, owing to, let us say, the nutriment, other nutriment also arises in their kalapas, in their own kalapas, right? So that gives rise to then that kalapa where the Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu support one another, and the arising of the derived matter and the derived matter. So in the conditioned state, what do we see? We see the four great essentials supported by each other, conascent derived matter. Do you understand? The derived matter, the rest of the three great essentials supported by that respective great essential and the conascent derived matter based upon that specific conascent matter, conascent derived matter, which is supported by that Patavi or Tejo or Vayu or Apo. Got it? Of the conditioning state. Clear? Yeah. So for example, let us take the pure octad, right? The pure octad here. Let us say Patavi is the conditioning state. We can then say in the conditioned state, Apo, Tejo, Vayu, and the derived matter. The rest. Vanna, Gandha, Rasa, Oja, and Jivitindriya. Do you understand? Because it's Sahajata. Is that clear? Right? The rest of the Kalapa is conditioned, or rather, supported by the four great essentials. But the four great essentials also support one another to be and arise. Yeah? That is why they have written it in that manner. Is that clear? Any questions? Hey Mali, is it clear?
Yes, Bhante, yes.
Oh. Right. Any questions, anyone? We do not have time for the other one, but we will complete the other one next week. But do we have any questions, any doubts? Are we all right? Yes? So we find here the four great essentials which support each other and the derived matter. So these four great essentials within a Kalapa, we are talking within a Kalapa. Within a Kalapa, the four great essentials support each other, right? And the derived matter, right? Doesn't it? It does. Right? So the four great essentials support Vanna, Gandha, Rasa, Patavi. If it is Patavi, it supports Apo, Tejo, Vayu, the rest of the four. And that Patavi and the Apo, Tejo, Vayu, of course, supports the rest of the derived matter as well. So the four great essentials support one another to exist and arise, as well as it supports the derived matter, conascent with itself. Conascent with itself. So here, everyone, look at the chart. We are talking about possibilities, right? The possibilities, that's why we don't have, it's not referring to conascent, but it's referring to derived matter. And in the conditioned state, we are referring to conascent derived matter. So the conascent matter supported by those great essentials which support each other as well. Is that clear? Yeah, because we are talking about potential. Yeah. So within any given Kalapa, we find within any given Kalapa grouping, within any one of the 21 groupings, if we have to take the mutability Undi card, the Patavi, Apo, Tejo, Vayu supports one another as well as supports the derived matters, right? So the conditioned state must be, if we are looking at Patavi is a conditioning state. The conditioned state becomes the Patavi, the rest, which means the rest of the 10. It is 11 here, right? We take away Patavi, the rest of the 10 is all the conditioned states. Is that clear, everyone? Because we take away Patavi and then the rest becomes a conditioned state. We can also take away, for example, if we are looking from the point of Apo, we can also take away Apo, put the rest, Patavi, Tejo, and Vayu into conditioned state, yes, and the rest of the conascent derived matter. Is that clear? Does that make sense? Right? Let's do another one. Let's take the tongue, the Tandikad. So the Tandikad, the base of the physicality is the Patavi Apo Tejo Vayo, right? So one, we can take Patavi Tejo, whatever it is. The rest becomes the dependent, the ones that which is conascent with itself, right? So if we are taking in Patavi for ease, because it's up there, water, fire, air, right? Tongue sensitivity, visible, one, gandh, rasa, life faculty, jivitindriya, and oja, right? So here it's 10, right? Tandikad is 10. So 1 is conditioning state. Conditioned state is 9, if we are putting it into the table, right? But it's sahajat. It arises together, supported by one another, right? The derived, conascent derived matter is supported by the Patavi Apo Tejo Vayu, which also supports itself. Is that clear? Is that clear?
Bhante,
Yes.
when you say mutability, undikad,
Yeah.
that's in the temperature bone, yeah?
Yes, temperature bond. And sorry, mutability undikad is nutriment bond.
Temperature also.
Yeah, yes, temperature also here, yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
The according to definition given by Bhikkhu Bodhi, conascent matter, it's actually relate to consciousness born and karma born.
Consciousness born and karma born.
If you go to the, I have shown that one actually, but not temperature born.
Okay. Not
temperature born.
Mutability undikad.
Yeah. In definition, I don't know whether it's correct or not, but definition given in the book, Bhikkhu Bodhi's book, it gives you the definition of conascent matter.
Okay.
And conascent matter, he says, it's a chittaja and the kammaja.
And the kammaja. Okay.
Yeah.
Chittaja and
the kammaja, not the temperature. Anyway, we will check it next week.
Okay, we will come back to it next week.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
All right, wonderful.
Okay.
So we will leave that there, everyone.
Yeah.
And we will continue next week. All right. So take care. And all right. Teruvan Saranai, everyone. I will see you tomorrow morning for the meditation.
Teruvan Saranai, Bhante.
Teruvan Saranai, Bhante.